Join us as actuaries and industry experts share their stories, insights, and lessons learned to help you explore what it takes to be successful as an actuary. This is the Actuarial Journey with your host, Nemo Asham. Taking one of the prelim exams soon? We know how hard it is to balance studying with work, life, school, and everything else you have going on. Join us at our next free live online workshop where we share the tips, strategies, and shortcuts we've learned to help you maximize the effectiveness of your study time and pass your next multiple choice exam while maintaining some semblance of a social life. Reserve your free spot at psljourney.com/webinar.
Hello, ProSocialites. Nemo Ashong here, and thank you so very much for letting me be a part of your actuarial journey. I am absolutely excited to introduce our guest today, Lauren Aronson. Lauren, are you ready to take us on a journey?
Yes, I am.
All right, let's do this. Lauren graduated from Union College in 2005 with a bachelor's degree in philosophy, and from Boston University in 2006 with a master's in actuarial science. Since graduating, she has worked as a pension consultant over the past 7 years for 2 large firms and has obtained her credentials as an ASA. Congratulations there, Lauren. You know, I've given everyone a bit of an overview of you from a professional aspect. Why don't you let us know a little bit more about you personally?
Well, I currently live in New York City. Some of the hobbies that I like to do for fun is I'm really into yoga, as well as other forms of working out. I love to run. I also love to play tennis. I grew up playing tennis, and I find being on the court to be very relaxing, and I love hiking and being on the water. So I'm a very outdoorsy person, as well as my career as an actuary. So those are, when I'm not at work, I try to be outside.
Oh, that's wonderful. It seems like you get like a great mix of just nature and, I don't know, just taking it all in. I just started meditating recently myself. So one day we'll have to talk about a little bit more about what you do with the yoga and such like that. All right. Well, Lauren, we're all about the journey here at ProSocial Learning. And, you know, every journey has some kind of guide, some kind of map to help people know where they should go on their journey. So I wanted to ask you, for us, it kind of comes together as a success quote or a mantra that we might use throughout our actuarial journey. Would you mind sharing with us a specific success quote that you've used to guide you through your journey?
Sure. I've gotten this quote from Buddha. He's actually someone that I am very interested in reading what he has had to say. When I was a philosophy major, I focused a lot on Buddhism. And his quote is, "Do not dwell in the past, do not dream of the future, concentrate the mind on the present moment." And the reason that this quote means so much to me is related to the actuarial world is because we do work so hard to pass these exams and get our credentials, and we do succeed and we also fail. And I think it's important to not dwell on the past and as well not dream of the future in the way of don't be trying to just get somewhere, but take each day and do the best that you can. And so that's a very meaningful quote to me.
Take each day and do the best that you can. Lauren, I really, really like that. And I think that, you know, it is such a real part with what we're doing here, right? This is a marathon. It's not a sprint. And, you know, to be able to take the things that have happened to us in the past and still be able to be in the moment there. I can even think about using that on an exam. You know, who cares what happened the first 10 questions? Question 11 is in front of you. What are you going to do with that?
Yes, I agree. It is important to be in the moment. And that is where you will succeed if you are present in the moment.
I like that. Do you mind sharing with us like one instance where you found yourself very present in the moment on your actuarial journey and how that worked out for you?
I would say a good example is I'm when I study for an exam, I am very organized. I write down my schedule of what I'm going to do each day the week before. And each day I look at that schedule and I say, okay, today my plan is to read chapter 4, for example. So I am really in my schedule on that day. I'm not looking at what I have to do tomorrow or next week. I really focus on that day. And then when that day is over, I feel like I had succeeded because I was present and I was focused. So I would say that that's how, for me, that quote comes alive.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Lauren. I think that is just a wonderful example there of really just being able to hone in and getting the things done that you need to do. And so I don't want to take you away from this because I love this talk about being in the present, but I am a little bit interested in some of the starting parts of your journey. And I was wondering if you can go ahead and share with us, what inspired you to choose the type of actuarial work that you currently practice?
Sure. I was someone who didn't know that I wanted to be an actuary from the moment they entered college. As you will probably obviously see, as I was a philosophy major. I also did have a math minor, and when I was going into my senior year, I was speaking with people about, at that point you are starting to look at what sort of career you want, what are you going to do after college, and I had no idea. So I was fortunate enough to have a father who was in the life insurance world and knew what an actuary was. And I told him that I really liked the logic aspect of both philosophy as well as mathematics. And the reason that I liked it was because I was given a problem and then I had to use reason to solve that problem. In the math world, let's say, why does A plus B equal C? And it was sort of a puzzle to me. And my father then suggested actuarial science because it really is looking at numbers and breaking them down and finding the story behind those numbers. So that's how I got into this world, and I applied for my master's and luckily got into BU and learned about what being an actuary was and took my exam and got a job. So
I like that. Thanks so much, Lauren. And in particular, you said you had worked as a pension consultant. How did you choose pension over some of the other things, or how did that come about? How did that decision come about?
I did interview at a lot of different places. I interviewed in both the consulting world as well as in the insurance world. For me, I felt just by going on these interviews, I was interviewing them as well, and I felt I had a better fit in the consulting world. It was more interactive. My conversations with the people that I was interviewing with were more about, I thought more about the personality aspect than just the how many exams have you passed, which was more in the insurance world. And for me, that was just a better fit. I was somebody who, while I did take exams and did want to get my ASA, I didn't want that to be my primary focus. I wanted my career to be in the exams on top of that. So that's how I chose consulting. Pension, I just sort of fell into. I suppose you can say I just interviewed at this one company and I liked the atmosphere the best, and I decided to go start there.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Lauren. I think that is. I'm glad that you were able to share kind of your experience with it. And I love that aspect. While you're going through the interview process, you were interviewing them as much as they were interviewing you. And I'm glad you talked about the fit there. It seems like that's a really, really important aspect, because as I've been going through this, I've been hearing more and more about different types of actuarial work and how people got involved in the type of questions and problems that they're answering on a day-to-day basis. And this always excites me and intrigues me as to how people kind of figured out what was the right fit for them. So I'm glad that you're able to share that, and thank you so much for doing so. So, Lauren, you had actually earlier said that something that really appealed to you was logic and using reason to be able to solve problems here. And I think that as actuaries, we have to go ahead and solve problems both from a technical standpoint as well as some things that relate to our overall business development, career development. So, I wanted to know, would you mind sharing with us a story of one specific challenge or a difficult time at work that you had on your journey and the steps that you took to overcome that? We want to be there with you, Lauren. We want to be on the ground floor with you. So if you can just help us understand that situation and some of the considerations that were involved.
I would say for me, a difficult time that I can remember is when I first started working, to be honest. And the reason it was so difficult for me was because I never had an internship at any company. Again, I was a philosophy major. I had a very liberal arts background, and when I entered the workforce or the work world, I didn't know how to use Excel. I didn't know how to use a computer very well. I could type in Word because I had to type a lot for philosophy, but as far as any other programs, I wasn't comfortable with them. And that was a very big challenge for me because not only was I trying to succeed at the job and do good work, essentially, and pick things up that way, I was also really starting from scratch on a technical side of things. And I think that it made things harder for me compared to a peer or a colleague, and it also made me probably have to work longer hours to learn those skills. And I think it was rewarding because I had to really focus in on what I was doing. I wasn't just completing something for the sake of completing. It made me really need to understand what I was doing, what I was looking at, and what I needed the end result to be. So in the end, I think it was very beneficial to my career.
Wow, thanks so much, Lauren. You were just all throughout there, you're just dropping some very big value bombs. So I appreciate it. I felt like I could understand exactly what you're going through that situation. Can you do us a favor and help share one takeaway that you want pro-socialites to walk away with from this story?
I would say to just, not let something discourage you. Sometimes it might take you extra time compared to a colleague, but don't compare yourself and don't let it make you feel like you're less than. Because, in the end, I think sometimes something that comes easier to somebody can make them worse off. Because I think that if you're a hard worker, you have these skills, people see them, and for me, I felt like it made me probably learn more quicker than someone else who just went through because they had to. So I would say don't get discouraged just if something is a little bit harder for you than someone else.
Wow, thank you. Don't get discouraged, pro-socialites. Lauren, that is just an amazing piece of takeaway. So thank you so much for sharing that. Now, we were just talking about a challenge for you, and thank you for being so gracious for taking us to that moment for you. But why don't we go ahead and just flip things around now and look at it on the other side of the fence here. Would you mind telling us a project or some kind of undertaking at work where you did really well and what the steps were that led to your success?
One of the things that I was most proud of in my career is that, and I would say again, this was really right off the bat. I was put onto a client, and it was one of my first clients, and I was on there for about 5 months, and my manager had invited me to go to the year-end client meeting, and for me, this was huge. It was the first time I was client-facing. I was very young, right out of school, and I thought it was a big compliment that he had invited me to do that. So I was also asked to present a piece of what we were going to present to the company. So that was something I was very nervous about doing. I had never stood up in front of a client, let alone, I really didn't have very strong presentation skills. So I had completed the deck that we were presenting at the client, and the part that I was presenting, I had practiced a lot to make sure that I was going to get up there, know what I was doing, and be able to answer any questions they had. And it went smoothly. I was nervous for maybe the first 5 minutes, but then things went all right, and they thanked me, and it was a very rewarding experience and one of the highlights of my career for sure.
Absolutely. That is awesome. Within just months, you're able to get in front of the client, be able to deliver something of meaning and value to them. And I'm glad to hear that it worked out in such a positive way. So, with all those golden nuggets that you were telling us through that story, can you mind just helping us take one golden nugget away from that story?
The biggest thing that I thought was the most important was the fact that I did practice. I didn't just go there and stand up and wing it. I think that it's important to, especially when you're client facing, to be as prepared as possible. But I think that that's important as well to show your managers or your colleagues, because that is when they'll have faith in you and trust that you are going to be ready to stand up there with them and present something to a client.
Thanks so much, Lauren. Build faith by being prepared and practicing. It's absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much for that. So, Lauren, we have one more question here before we enter the Quickfire section, and I want to get your take on this. What is one of the trends or current developments within your line of work that really excites you right now?
Well, right now in the pension world, we're focusing a lot on de-risking pension plans. So that's pretty exciting. It's away from the current annual funding work, and it's looking at plan design. And I would say that right now, for me in particular, it's very exciting because, like I said, the reason I went into actuarial science was to really be able to look at numbers and figure out what they mean and tell a story behind it. And these new de-risking strategies are great because they really allow me to look at a company and decide what might be the best strategy for them and to figure out the story of why that is the case. So I'm getting to use those skills that I really were the reason that I went into this career in the first place.
Thanks so much there, Lauren. And we're just about ready to enter the quickfire section, but first, let's stick around for a quick announcement.
Hey ProSocialites, are you struggling with staying motivated and finding time to study with all the things that pop up in your busy life? For years, I was exactly in your shoes, trying to figure out how to pass my next exam while still excelling at work and still living my life. Well, we at ProSocial Learning want to share the lessons we've learned so you can use them to get you through your exams faster. Visit psljourney.com/free gift to learn more and get a free resource for your actuarial journey that you can use right now to help you pass your next exam while still doing the things you love most. That's psljourney.com/free gift.
All right, Lauren, we're about ready to head into the quick fire section, which is my favorite part of this entire interview. What we're going to do here is that I'm going to ask you a series of questions, and you can just come back to us and let us know your take on each of these areas here. We want to get through a few different things, so I may not respond as much throughout there, but just continue to add the value that you are, and I think we're all going to be in great shape. Sound like a plan to you? All right, let's do this. So, Lauren, how do you describe what an actuary does to strangers?
I usually start off by saying that an actuary is someone who assesses risk through mathematics. And then if I am to go into more detail, then I bring up the fact that we use different probabilities to do so.
So, Lauren, what is the best advice you have ever received?
The best advice I've received is to look at myself as an entrepreneur, and in doing so, to build my own brand. And while I do work for a company, I see myself, based on this advice, as Lauren Aronson. And I think that this is really important because it has been the factor that has really driven me to pass my exams and take my study days, because I, as Lauren Aronson, want to become an actuary. And I think that that is a very important thing to keep in mind, that you need to do what is good for you as well as for your employer, but you don't want to lose what's important to you in the process.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, the brand of Lauren Aronson, getting the associates and everything like that is going strong. So it's definitely a great piece of advice that you got there. So, Lauren, why don't you share with us one technical skill that you have found useful to your success?
For me, I would say it's really writing down a to-do list each day. I think keeping myself organized has been the biggest driver for my success. It makes things not that overwhelming, and I check things off as I complete them. And again, it has to do with that being in the present moment, and that drives me towards success.
Being in the present moment, I love when themes develop here. So, Lauren, what is one business skill besides writing a to-do list every day that you've also found has contributed to your success?
Mastering the different programs that we use at work has been a big driver. I think that that's a great tool for someone to focus on, because when someone is looking for a colleague who knows the system, then they will go to you. And I think it makes you valuable to the company. And I think that that's an important thing to be.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Lauren. Lauren, some of our pro-socialites are very interested in being actuaries, but they don't currently have a job yet. So I wanted to know, would you mind sharing what advice you would have for someone that's currently applying for a job as an actuary?
The biggest advice that I can give is to be confident when you're interviewing. I think that a lot of these companies, they will try to see how you come off. And while you might not always have the perfect example or know the perfect answer that they are looking for, it's just important to keep that confidence throughout the interview.
Absolutely. You're the shining example of that confidence right here, Lauren. So thank you. Lauren, what is one piece of advice that you would give to any listener currently taking exams?
To just keep trying and don't get defeated if you are having a bad day or a bad week or a month, or if you failed the exam once or twice, but to just keep plugging away. If it is something that is important to you, don't let it go because you haven't passed an exam. I think that that is how you will succeed in the end.
I love it, just like what you said at the very beginning, don't get discouraged. So, pro socialites, keep that in mind. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Continue making forward progress throughout there. Thanks so much, Lauren. So, Lauren, is there a resource like a book, a website, an app, or something like that that you would recommend to pro socialites to aid them on their actuarial journey?
For me, I think that the biggest aid has been Infinite Actuary. That website has always given me a strong basis for learning the material for an exam. And while I do move on to practicing problems through other means, I would say that having an instructor teach me something on a chalkboard and writing it down in that classroom type of environment has been beneficial to me succeeding on the exam.
Well, thank you so much, Lauren. For socialites, we'll go ahead and put this link to this resource and everything else of value on the ProSocial Learning website under prosociallearning.com/Lauren Aronson. Now, Lauren, this next question is the last one of the quickfire area, but it is pretty intense, so I'm interested in your take on it. So, imagine you woke up tomorrow in a brand new world exactly like Earth. You're at the beginning of your actuarial journey all over again. You still have all the experience and knowledge you currently have, but you knew no one, you had no exams, and you didn't have a job as an actuary yet. It might seem pretty daunting, but I'm kind of curious. What would you do in the next 7 days?
What I would do is to speak to as many current actuaries as possible in as many fields as I could find. And I think that the reason that I would do this is so I can get a broad understanding of what the actuarial world offers and also where I might like to fit into it. I think that this is important to do, if possible even, at different levels. So speak to somebody who has been working in one field for just maybe a year or two, as well as someone who has been in that field for 10 years. And just get as broad of a range as possible.
Absolutely. Get out there, get active, find out more about what the profession is all about in this new world. Take the time to find a right path for you because, this is a profession, right? We're making the decision to really invest some time into building our skill sets and what we have to offer. And I think it's great that, right off the bat, you would take the time to just make sure you understood what was going on and take each next step in your journey along the path that you'd like. Thank you so much for sharing that, Lauren.
And I just add, I think on top of that, it's important because you're expanding your network. So even if you were to go into a particular field that you might not have, that you've decided is not the best one for you after a year or two, you've expanded your network, you might have contacts in other areas. On top of that, you might enjoy the field that you're in, but be able to contact someone at a potential client site that you had reached out to before. So I think that there's no downfall to doing this for a lot of different reasons.
Oh, thank you so much there, Lauren. We're just about ready to wrap things up, but before we do, would you mind sharing one parting piece of advice and letting ProSocialites know how they can get in touch with you?
Sure. I would say the biggest advice that I can give to ProSocialites is the best advice that was given to me, which I mentioned earlier about just building your own brand and making sure that you're not losing yourself as you continue in your career. If you want to complete your exams and become credentialed, you should make sure that you're doing so. And don't lose sight of this along the way. And as far as getting in touch with me, you can reach out to me via LinkedIn and just shoot me a message or an email, and I'd be happy to respond.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Lauren. We'll make sure to include a link there on the website. So, Lauren, just wanted to go ahead and say thank you so much for sharing your time, your insights, and lessons learned with all of us here on ProSocial Learning. We wish you the best of luck and continued success in your journey. And until the next time we speak again, journey on.
Thank you, Nima.
Thank you so much for letting us be a part of your actuarial journey. The fun doesn't stop here, though. Join the conversation on Facebook and LinkedIn, where we're constantly sharing fresh strategies, stories, and shortcuts to help you achieve your associate designation and success on your actuarial journey. Check it out at psljourney.com/Facebook and psljourney.com/LinkedIn. Here's to your continued success. Journey on.